This is video number 4 from Mariage d'Amour. We are going to start working on the second page. I'm looking at the right hand today. One nice thing about the second page is that it repeats. So the right hand, the first 2 lines are actually the same as the third and the fourth line. So if you've learned the first half, you also know the second half, which is nice. Also nice, by the second page, we are staying the same tempo or the same time signature. So you'll notice that on the first page, we changed to 4/4 right at the last measure, and now we are going to stay 4/4 the entire page. So if you'll recall, that means 4 beats in the measure with a quarter note getting the beat. However, you will also notice that it is the rare quarter note that we have anywhere on this page. We mostly have 8th notes and 16th notes. So we might talk a little bit about how best to count that in a minute. So, first of all, let's take a look at the first line. We're going to start with our right hand. We're going to have our little finger on the D above the D above middle C. So, and then we're going to have our thumb on the G below that. So here is the melody. That's the first line of the second page. You may be thinking about the best way to count this. This line is fairly simple because it just has 8th notes and 16th notes. And we have, there's 2 16th notes can fit into an 8th note. So the 8th notes will be twice as long as the 16th notes. So when we're counting this, it's 1, 2, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 2. And that's if we're subdividing. But it helps us to know exactly how long we need to hold things. So I'm going to play that line through one more time, starting on the second D above middle C. Now we switch to the E flat. So that is the first line. Second line, you may notice that they stick in a little bitty grace note at the very beginning. And that's pretty simple. It's just something you play fast. So it'll be like this. Did you hear that? So a little grace note, it's a 16th. They just stick it in at the beginning to add a little flourish. And so the little grace note is an A, and then you go to the F, which is mostly what you're playing for this next measure, the first measure of the second line. So once you do the little grace note, then you're on the F. 1, 2, 3, G. 1, 2, 3, G. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, F, G. So that's the next measure. And let me play the whole line once. Here we go. We're going to start with the little grace note on A, and then we go to the F above. It's not the F directly above middle C, it's the F above that. Here we go. line, it's going to repeat the first. But let's talk a little bit about that second line. We throw in another type of note on this line. We throw in a dotted eighth note. So a dotted eighth note, 3/16 notes can fit into a dotted eighth note. So if you're going to count out this line with subdividing, which means assigning the value of 1 to the shortest note, you would count it like this. 1, 2, 3, 1, 1, 2, 3, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 1, 1. Now you notice here, this F is tied to this F, which means you just keep holding it. You don't play it the second time. So when you're holding this F, which is the fifth note in the measure, you're going to hold it for a total of 6 counts because it's a quarter note tied to an eighth note. And that's a total of 6 counts since we're giving a count of 1 to the 16th note. So again, counting this measure, 1, 2, 3, 1, 1, 2, 3, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 1. Then if we go to the second measure of this second line, we have another quarter note tied to an eighth note. It's on the D, and it sounds like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. So the whole rest of the measure is just 16th notes, and that's easy to count. So now I'm going to play that whole second line again. Here we go. So that's the first 2 lines. Now, I'm going to go ahead and play lines 3 and 4 all at once. The only thing that you will notice that's different between the previous lines and lines 3 and 4 are in line 4. In line 4, you'll notice there's a little squiggly line above this F, and that's just a little trill is all that means. So you can add that in, and then at the very end you'll notice instead of going, it goes. So that's the only difference between the earlier 2 lines and lines 3 and 4. So I'm going to play line 3 and 4 together. Okay, now I'm just going to play that whole page right hand. page, right hand.